region until Universal took notice and said, oh, we need to expose this to the world. Same principle, it has to happen here. That way the local market has to support it.
I want to open it up to questions for anybody who might have questions for Just at this point.
He had his hand up first.
On Game's album,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about no more handcuffs.
Yes, I did.
Who's that in reference to? What concept is that?
That was in reference, that is the most misunderstood thing that I have ever said. When I said no more hand claps, okay, people thought that I was talking about clap snares or 808 claps on records. Nothing to do with that. It was a slip. I meant to say no more applause because there was a crowd cheering in the background and I wanted them to shut up so Game could rap. And I was in the booth and I said, I don't need no more hand claps, thank you. And I meant to say no more applause. And then it just became a running joke, so I left it. And then it's funny, over the years, people have taken that, so many different interpretations of that. Like, no, stop using 808 claps, they're whack. You know, producers are like, yeah, Just Blaze said no more hand claps, I'm gonna stop using them. And I'm like, no, it had nothing to do with that. If a hand clap sounds good on the record, please use it. Don't take the hand clap out of your record because I said not to. Don't do anything because I said so. You were there for?
I'm from London.
Okay.
We want to know, is there any artists in London that you're aware of, or from the UK that you're aware of, you like, and work with? Are you aware of the scene much over there?
Yeah, I like UK rap. I mean, I did. I like a lot of. I like grime. I like. I see your man just put out POW 2010 or 2011, whatever it was. I was banging that in my crib. Now, yeah, I like him. Jamie, Skepta, I worked with them a couple years ago. Clash is dope. I've heard a few Tiny Temper records. I heard a few of his earlier records, which were a lot harder than the new records he's doing now. But they're cool, you know, more respected. He's winning. You know, at the end of the day, black men winning, making music. I ain't mad at you. So you know, I like music in general. I don't care where it's from. You had a question? Yes, you.
Okay. When you've experienced setbacks like the Cash Money deal, how long did you allow yourself to dwell, and what did you tell yourself to keep going?
Okay. Are you talking about Dudino?
Like when you was like, yeah, we'll keep going, and it never came through.
Oh, I just kept it moving. I don't. You can't. Because you're going to be dealing with that every day in this business. You can't. There's always going to be some kind of. If you have 100 people that represent the music business, 10 of them are actually, I want to say, really about it and about something and really making moves. You know, the other 90 kind of just take up space and are connected to somebody somehow. So you're gonna get a lot of, especially coming up, there's gonna be a lot of false starts and false promises, whatever. You gotta take every opportunity that comes to you and hope that they'll come to fruition. Some of them will, some of them won't. But you know, every step leads to something else, even if it's a false step. Because that false step with Dino, which ended up amounting to nothing, in all actuality ended up to me meeting Jay-Z. So, you know what I mean? It's just you gotta approach it, you know, as with the mindset of what happens. That's not it.
Scouting for like new talent and stuff like that. And if you do scout for new talent, where do you look?
Wow. Are you about to, I feel like I'm about to
Like,
get
you
it.
gonna go somewhere like maybe in the underground or anything like that, like
Nah, to be honest, me personally,
to a place like that.
Me personally, I always have so much going on.
My name is Cyber One, by the way.
I had a feeling that was coming. I have so much going on that, to be honest, I don't really just go search for new talent like that. My approach is music finds its way where it's supposed to. If I'm supposed to hear something, how I was supposed to hear Jay Electronica, it happened. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily go searching for it. If it comes across to me and I like it, cool, I got you next. If it comes across and I like it, great. Me personally, I have so much going on, I don't really have time to do things like that because for every low in this side of the game, there's 80 other things I have to do on this side. You know what I mean? But that being said, I'm not opposed to working with new talent if it strikes me. It can't always just be about whether or not you have a budget. But that being said, in regards to things like this, I think things like this, and open mics and producer battles, and a lot of the more community-minded things that you're starting to see over the past few years for up-and-coming musicians and aspiring musicians, even established ones, are great, and they do provide an opportunity for people who are aspiring to catch the attention of somebody like myself, as long as they're not overbearing about it. Then I'll take a listen to whatever.
Two-part question. One, I've been waiting a year and
The first part, do you remember the show you did last year with Jay Electronica and NERD at Webster Hall?
Yes.
When you were rapping? Okay.
Was I rapping?
You were, because I have video.
I don't think I was rapping.
I have video proof, but we won't go there yet.
At Webster Hall, me
At Webster
rapping?
Hall, you came down from the stage, whatever. Came down and you were rapping.
No.
Yes.
You're talking about the show Governor's Island. I was rapping.
I have video, but anyway, the point is, we'll go.
You talking about the show where he made me rap?
Yeah, and when I was
That
on
was
stage.
at Governor's Island.
No, because I was on stage. But anyway, whatever, the point is.
Okay.
The point is, now, I'll refresh your memory in case you don't remember. I threw my beat CD on stage, and Jay was like, oh, this is beats? I'm like, yeah. So I go on stage. My question, first part, did you ever get that CD?
No.
Because who put it on? You don't know?
Who put it on what?
He put it on the sound system, man. The sound system, man.
Man, that must have been TJ.
So you don't have the CD. Okay, part two. Although Jay Electronica is a friend. What happened? Nah, I actually have another one here, but we won't go there. So number two, part two. Since you're Jay Electronica's friend, you may be able to answer this. Now, I don't want any details about when the album's coming out. I only have one question. Will you be producing on it?
Safe to say.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be
And that's it?
working on it.
Yeah, that's my case.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, can you tell the story about having to redo Greatest Story Never Told? That 3 days that you were talking about.
Oh, the shortest way I can put that, we didn't really redo the album. Long story short, what ended up happening with the album was, we got 3 days before mastering, I'm finding out, before the masters are due, I found out that, we collectively find out that Atlantic hadn't actually cut any checks for any of the samples, with the exception of like one. They negotiated the deals for samples they had cleared, they never paid for it. So all that's been, for all intents and purposes, been not clear. So it's like the label's like, all right, well, we can just take these 7 songs off and put on these other new 7 songs. And I'm like, no, we're not. For that, you just plan another album. I will take my ball and go home. And so we're just like, all right, wait a minute, let's think about this logically for a second. Everybody cool down. I know some of the best musicians in the world. I know some of the people who are best at sample replays in the world. And we have 3 days, and I have my own studio, and I have friends who will help, make this happen. So we basically had to take, the whole thing was this, it wasn't we had to replay all the samples, it was, this is how much money we have that we can scrounge up to clear samples. I want to say the samples cost were like $100,000 in samples. Okay, and we have a budget of maybe, we were able to put together maybe 50,000, like on a humble real quick. How do we maximize this 50,000? All right, we'll clear the samples that we need to absolutely clear. The rest will get replayed and interpolated or just completely changed while keeping the feel of it. That's my main thing. Here's the thing. When you chop up a sample, right, technically you shouldn't have to pay publishing anymore. You're going to, if you clear it, because that's just the way business works. But theoretically, if you have a sample that goes da-na-na-na-na, and you make it go da-na-na-na-na, that's not what that songwriter originally wrote. But because you're using their master, if you sample it from their record, you're gonna have to pay for that publishing as well. So my theory was, all right, hold on. If I can get somebody else to take my da-na-na-na-na, my chop that I made when I made the record do that, and have it sound exactly like the record, then I don't have to pay for it. I just pay that musician, or that group of musicians. So, called a good friend of mine, Ken Lewis, who works with a ton of great musicians and has a great ear for replaying samples. He's replayed a ton for me before, and he's also replayed a lot of Kanye samples. We hooked him up with a few years back, and he's been playing a lot of stuff on all his albums. Like, yo, I had 3 days to pull this off. I need you to, I'm gonna send you these 5 songs. You pick the 3 that you think you can tackle the fastest. He picked his 3, and he just basically worked around the clock, no sleep, a lot of coffee and 5 energy drinks. And while he was doing that, me and my good friend Kenai Finch were also doing the same at baseline, picking apart songs, picking apart samples, and listening to how I chopped it, recreating those chops using live instrumentation, and just kind of made it work. I only had to pull one song off completely because Bob James just wanted way too much money and it was astronomical. So there you go. There was a song called War, which we pulled off, and I redid as a skit. And a friend of mine, Lamar Edwards from 1500 and Nothing production group in LA, played some keys for me, and we rearranged that. And my whole thing was this: we had 3 days to get this album together and not have it lose its integrity, sonically and musically. And we made it work, but it was definitely a trying process. But I'm still proud of the end result. I still love it. In some cases, I like the replays better.
Can I ask you just one more production
Sure.
question? Did you produce the game's Beautiful Life?
I don't even know what that is.
No,
So
fine.
probably
It just sounds like your drum production.
Okay.
Okay.
Right behind, Get You Next, right behind. I'm trying to spread it out a little bit. No, you, yes, glasses, yes.
Thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
It's kind of something that's like in my brain, so bear with me here. It's 1970, okay, right now. If you're stuck on an island, what 5 records would you have? That's it. That's my only
Oh
question.
man, I might have to search that on Twitter because I gotta go home and research what was available in 1970. Because what if it was a record that was from 72? It wouldn't have been released yet.
Okay, 1975. I'm back. Just before hip hop. Okay.
Put it this way: if I was stuck somewhere in that period of time, and I had to choose from 5 records, I'd probably take whatever James Brown greatest hits compilation I could get.
I'll cut you some slack. 3.
All right. What's the Isaac Hayes album that has Ike's Rap 3?
Mother's Soul.
To be continued. I think it's to be continued with the puzzle pieces, right? To be continued, and probably David Porter, the Victim of the Joke.
Thank you.
No problem. Yes.
What's good, man? Mike Phelps in Plainfield, New Jersey. I just want to ask you, what value do you think a label provides independent artists in today's landscape?
Not as much as they used to. Nowadays it's just about being able to smartly build your brand. And if you have the proper support team behind you, I think it's possible for somebody. Nobody's done it. Like, I think Drake probably could have stayed indie and did near the same numbers that he did. Only because I know the people behind us, those are all friends of mine. A lot of those moves that he made or the opportunity for them came about from them, not necessarily from a major label pulling the strings. My advice is stay indie as long as you can, and let the majors come to you on your terms. Yeah, exactly. And if they come to you with a 360, you'll smack them with a dead fish. Next, somebody from over here, because I've been getting everybody from over here in.
If you were breaking into the business today, what city would you base yourself out of, and what would your strategy be?
That's a hard one because I'm not breaking into it today, but I kind of feel like, all right, here's my approach. What I'm about to say probably applies a little bit more to producers than it does to our singers and the like. But people always ask me that, and I say, listen, these days I feel like it doesn't matter where you're from. Start a movement where you're at locally. If you're one of the best or hottest producers in your local